Today in our 2018 Ford Mustang, we're going to be test fitting the Hollywood Rex Trailrider 2-bike platform rack. This part number is HR200Z. This is going to be a great accessory for your Mustang. It's going to allow you to haul up to 2 bikes to and from your destination wherever you might want to take your bikes. It's going to hold each bike at 3 different connection points. The first 2 are going to be down here, 1 on each wheel. We'll have a hook and loop strap securing it into the cradle. You can see the rear one right here. Then the front one, same exact thing. And then up top, we're going to have this padded frame hook that's putting downward force on top of the frame, forcing it down into the cradles. With those 3 connection points that give it a little shake, you can see that it's not moving independently from the bike rack, so you can be sure that your bike's going to be secured properly down. Now, one thing I want to point out is that we don't have the tilt-away feature on this bike rack, but because our Mustang is more sedan style, we can go ahead and just open up our trunk. Now, one thing I will say, with a bike loaded, our current handlebar spread of this road bike does meet the clearance requirement. We got about 2 inches of space right there. If you have a bike that has a wider handlebar spread, you might run into trouble trying to access your trunk. But with this current bike, we can open up our trunk and get in and get whatever we might need. With that being said, you're going to be able to access the trunk of your Mustang whenever you want to with no bikes loaded. Well, let's go ahead and take the bike off. We're going to start with the hook and loop straps. It's very easy. Just tear them off, pull it up, do the same thing at the front. Now up top with our padded frame hook, before we release it, I want to point out that when we release it and we try to unload it, we could run into the possibility of maybe scratching up our Mustang with our pedals or anything else when we try to maneuver it out of its place. So something that's great about this bike rack that can help with you protecting your Mustang, we're going to go ahead and pull this pin first, like so. Saw that pin right there. Now we'll go ahead and release the hook while having a grip on our bike. And then instead of having to pick it up and maneuver it around, we're just going to fold this arm down, make it a whole lot easier on ourselves. Then we can just pick it right up and lift it off. Keep in mind that if you're trying to load up your second bike or unload the second bike, you're going to that arm's going to have to be up. Now we'll just bring it back up, place that pin. Now let's take a few measurements. With any hitch-mounted accessory you have on your vehicle, it's going to have more length added. In the case of our Mustang with this bike rack, we're going to go from the bumper to the outermost point. That is 24.5 inches we've added onto the back of our vehicle, so just about 2 feet. So you want to keep that in mind if you're traveling, trying to park in a parking spot. Our ground clearance, now this might be more of an issue because the Mustang does sit lower to the ground than most vehicles. But because we have this nice raise in the shank, our ground clearance is going to be more generous. We're sitting at about 14 inches right there. So any type of driveway you got to get into, or if you go over a speed bump, maybe a pothole, or any other uneven pavement, you shouldn't have too much trouble. And then our closest point is going to be these cradles, but that's 8 inches away, so you're not going to have to worry about that making contact with the vehicle. Now, like I said, we can't tilt this away from the vehicle, and at the same time, we cannot fold it up to the vehicle to conserve on space we've added onto the back. But there is a way we can fold it to conserve on the space that it takes up in this position. So we're going to come down here to these pins. You can see these 2 right here. We're going to pull them out. And then from there, we're going to fold up these 2 arms. We call this Suitcase Style. And we'll replace the pins. Just like that, we've cut down on that space. We'll put these hooks down too to take away from the height, like so. In this position, if you wanted to, you could remove it from the receiver. You could put it in the back of your Mustang. You could put it in your garage. Really, anywhere you have enough space, which shouldn't be too much of a problem considering how little space is taken up now. Now let's come down to the hitch and see how it attaches. We have an 1.25 inch receiver tube on our Mustang. But something I do want to point out is that if you have another vehicle in your household that has a 2 inch by 2 inch receiver tube, you can use this included sleeve to put it on the end of your shank that makes it compatible with 2 inch hitches, which means you're going to be able to use it for virtually any vehicle you have that's 2 inches or 1.25 inches. We also have a lock on the other side, an anti-rattle bolt, I should say, that when tightened down takes away the shake and play from our bike rack while we're traveling. And we also have a lock on the other side, which is a nice security feature. That being said, that's going to do it for our look at the Hollywood Racks Trailrider 2-bike platform rack on our 2018 Ford Mustang.